or something that made these people die, because 3 people in one family died of a sudden death.
Murders, mysteries, unexplained stories, and our family's crazy opinions on them all. Join us now. The Family School of Thought is in session.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Family School of Thought. I hope everybody had a great week. Hopefully you had a lot of excitement going on all week, or not excitement not going on all week, whatever works for you. How is everybody?
Doing
Just
good.
Good. Weather is perfect here. You can see where I'm at, my favorite place.
Looks like it.
Yeah. And Cass, how's the weather out there in Portland?
It's hot. I'm tired of it being.
Really?
I'm so tired of it being hot.
Wow.
Well, it's going to be hot for another 2 months.
Well, at least you're not having the floods that they're having in California.
Yeah, that's true.
In Texas.
For the droughts. But they're having droughts in Texas. Didn't you just see on the news? They just discovered new dinosaur footprints because the water levels are so low.
Oh, wow.
They're like 130 million years old. Dinosaur
I was
footprints.
watching Dallas. Everybody's flooded. I mean,
Austin, Texas, they're under flood warnings.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where. It's like the National Dinosaur Park or something like that in Texas. I don't know exactly where it was.
I don't know where that's at
In
either.
Texas.
Probably west coast of Texas or something over.
Well, all right, Jess, how about getting us started with some fun facts?
Yeah, so I have a couple today. In his will, William Shakespeare left his wife his second best bed, rather. Not his first best, not the best, the second best.
What?
Bed?
Best or bed?
His bed to like
Bed.
sleep in. I'm thinking his best bed probably went to his gay lover, something like that. So
Well, his
that's where.
wife's name was Anne Hathaway.
Was that really?
I did know that, yeah. My other fun fact is the horizontal refreshment. This is a term that was used in the 19th century, and it was slang for having sex.
That's funny.
I thought they went
I see
together
that.
a little bit, okay?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Back to
I thought it was funny.
Shakespeare. So he was a homosexual
Well,
I
and
don't know
married.
if he was a homosexual. I think
But-
he was open to.
he did
Everyone?
have a lot of men dress up as women. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that was the times too where women weren't allowed to do anything.
Was it?
But I think he was an artist. He was open to everything.
And that time would have been
He liked the
important
wine,
for
not the
people
label,
to know, or
right?
people wouldn't care.
What?
I don't know.
In that time, was that out in the open, or was it kept? Nobody talked about it.
I don't know.
I guess back in them. What years are we
I
talking?
feel like William
Well, that's way
Shakespeare.
back.
Yeah,
Shakespeare
I
was-
feel like people were more open and,
That's what I was thinking.
maybe they didn't admit it. I mean, you got married. And
Cass and
to
I
be,
are shaking her head.
to be-
No,
Yeah,
that
so,
was during
you know.
like the Victoria or the Queen of England, like super religious times of England. So no, I don't think that was.
Well,
what
that's why I was
was
thinking it's really maybe because religion hasn't caught on to the way it is today, or no?
No, it was super big.
What years are we talking, Shakespeare?
I want to say
I don't know.
18.
Oh,
No,
No, I was thinking like
1900s.
16th century. Nope,
What?
1900. Not
okay. Somebody
1900s.
Google this. I need to know now.
It's
We're all over.
1580.
16th
He was
century.
alive
Okay.
from 1582. Or no, I'm sorry, that was when he was married.
Yeah.
It doesn't say when he was
1616.
married,
Oh wait,
but like 1564 to 1616 is his
Yeah, that's about what I
life
thought.
span.
he was born in 1564.
Oh, geez.
And he died in 1616.
And his wife's
Let's
name was
see.
Anne Hathaway.
Yes, and I did know that. Let me see. Let's look at Wikipedia. I wonder if because there
He was
were a lot
during
of
the
rumors, at least, that he.
yeah.
I
Well,
guess
if you
I guess
watched
my question is because
Shakespeare
back
in
in the
Love,
Roman days, I might be married and have a family, but it's just accepted that I'm going to have gay lovers too.
liver, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
So
what I.
it was just
That's
an
kind of what I
accepted way
think.
of
Yeah.
life, and I was wondering if that's the way it was when he was.
He was during
Yeah,
the
that's
Elizabethan era, which was basically right after I want to say Henry the VIII, but it was like a very religious time.
Yeah, okay, because Christianity is what really put a stop to that. It was,
right.
Mm-hmm.
made people think it was
Right.
wrong. Okay, well, that's interesting.
Sexuality. Here's a sexuality. Few details of Shakespeare's sexuality are actually known. He married Anne Hathaway when he was 18 and she was 26.
Ooh,
Oh,
That's and she was pregnant. So
by him.
okay. It doesn't say.
oh.
Susanna, the first of their 3 children, was born 6 months later. So I think she was pregnant before they got married. And over
That
the
doesn't
centuries,
sound. That doesn't sound too much like. Well, I mean, maybe it was if he was gay, she was his friend. But
yeah,
a baby out of wedlock doesn't sound like somebody who's doesn't want to.
But he's 18, she's 26. Maybe he was gay and she was pregnant by somebody, and it's not really.
That's what. Yeah.
But it does say so. Over the centuries, some readers and the sonnets and autobiographies are pointing to evidence that he was in love with a man.
Women or men? I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that.
With men, he was in love with
Okay.
a man. The 26 Dark Lady sonnets addressed to be married to a woman and are taken as evidence of his heterosexual sexuality. So.
Heterosexuality or homosexuality?
Yes, so there's people that say that there's some evidence from his work that he was a homosexual or bisexual at the very least.
I was gonna say he's probably bisexual.
Hold on.
He probably didn't put labels on it, man. It's Shakespeare. He's talking about fairies in the garden, and
that was kind of what I was getting to. Was like, was it a time when people just didn't care one way or another?
I don't think it was a time. I think it was just
a
William Shakespeare thing.
Well, that's what I always thought was that, okay, it's not acceptable to marry the same sex, but you get married, to the opposite sex, but there's a lot of affairs that happen.
Right. And it was just a way of life. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So those are my, mental floss amazing facts of the day. So
okay. Awesome. Very interesting. Okay, Cass. Let's hear the song.
Well, let's see if we can hear the song. All right.
I'll take the lows, you can ebb and I can flow, and we'll take it slow and grow as we go.
All right. Okay. Can you hear that?
I could hear it.
Barely.
I never heard the song before.
I feel like I have heard the song, but I don't recognize it with what you played.
Yeah, it's somebody I'm familiar with singing, the voice sounds familiar, but I can't put a face to it. I know as soon as you say, I'm going to say, yep.
Well, so here's the thing.
Person?
It's not a One Direction person. So this is Ben Platt. He is pretty much a Broadway kind of darling. He kind of grew up in Broadway, but a lot of people know him from the movie Pitch Perfect, where he played the character Benji, who was like the magician, the
weirdo.
Yeah. So
I got the magic in me.
Yes, yep. Played Benji, so a lot of people know him from that. outside of Broadway, I should say that. Like, if you don't know him from Broadway, he's very famous, like, in Broadway.
Pitch Perfect.
Yeah. Out of Broadway, Pitch Perfect. But this is his song, Grow As We Go. And it's, the first few times you listen to it, it's a very romantic. It's talking about we need to grow together as people. And, no one knows us like us. We can get through this. But it takes you a few times, and it took me a few times listening to this, because I really love this song, to really understand the, like, first couple lines of lyrics, which are, you say there's so much you don't know. You need to go and find yourself. You say you'd rather be alone because you think you won't find it tied to someone else. And then you realize this song is about someone trying to break up with him and him kind of saying, no, we can grow together. We need to change together. Like, we have to stick together. And so it kind of like, okay.
Yeah. I have heard this song before.
Yeah. I love it, but it was like the first few times I'm like, oh, this is such a beautiful song. And I'm like, oh, this could be very creepy if it's like you really actually want to break up with this person and all they're saying is, no, we get to go together.
We can make it work.
You don't need space. Space is for losers.
Psycho.
There's a song. There's a lot of songs like this, but the one that comes to mind was Johnny Cash's wife, I can't think of her name, June Carter.
Yeah.
June Carter sang a song. It was way back in the 50s, but it's about she's married to this guy and she can tell he's having an affair on the phone. She walks in, she finds out he's having an affair with this woman, and the whole song is like, I'll be here waiting for you when you're done, like there's a lot of songs, especially country songs, that are like that. They're like, okay, go have your affair, but I'll be right here waiting for you.
Maybe maybe it's a remake, or she covered it, but I know Reba has a song that's almost exactly like that, where Reba McEntire, where it's like she's talking to the like wife, and she's like, I know he's gonna go home to you, but I'm still here, I'm gonna still be here when.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'm sure it's a remake because Johnny Cash and them were around before Reba.
Because back in the
That's
50s,
what I'm saying. Yeah,
women were,
maybe
you held on to that man no matter what he was doing. You know what I mean?
well, you had to. It was looked down upon if you were a divorced woman.
You
Right.
stand by
How are you gonna
your
support
man.
yourself?
Right.
No, it's not a you stand by your
man
man thing. It's not a you stand by your man thing. It's a divorced women were like lepers in the 50s.
And they didn't have their own income or way to
Right.
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 That's why
They were just
a lot
they
of
had to
women
move back home
killed
with
their
their kids
husbands.
and live with their mothers. Yes. Yes.
That's why a lot of
Sprinkle
women
that little in there.
just a little bit of seasoning.
Or the women were alcoholics or, addicted to drugs.
Seriously,
Because
yeah.
they were bored with their lives.
Right.
Yeah,
They were
get it.
trapped. They were trapped in a
Yeah.
life. Right.
Yeah.
Now I have to go look up that song with June Carter. It's actually a really good song when you're listening to it. I mean, it's like, oh, this is
Yeah.
cool. But you listen to it, you're like, oh, like you found out he's having an affair, and you're gonna be there waiting for him when she's done.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of June Carter, Dad, you'd be very proud of Gen Z or the next generation. Ring of Fire is like super popular on TikTok right now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a
Sure.
trend right now.
She
Wow.
wrote that
The
song.
trend is to basically just be running down the street like a crazy person with like things in your hands, but it's a trend right now.
Take that back. She didn't write that song. Johnny Cash wrote that song. She wrote the Walk the Line.
Yeah, I knew that.
Him, walk the line if you want to be with me, type of thing. And then he wrote Ring of Fire. And he wrote it for her sister, Anita, who had a hit song with it first.
Oh, he wrote it for her sister to sing. Got it.
Ring of
I
Fire.
thought you meant
No. He wrote it for
wrote
her.
it about her.
He wrote it for her to sing because she was recording
Got
it
it.
at this time. And pretty good at it too. And she recorded it, and it was kind of a hit, but then he did it. He put in the horns and the beginning part.
Good to know.
Interesting.
Good to know.
Good.
Okay. Dee, you better
Hey,
get your stuff ready this week.
I thought it was Jesse's turn.
okay. Well, I have something to add in that was in the New York Times today, and it's something we talked about. So I just wanted to bring it up. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but doppelgangers. We brought it up in it was like my first topic. There is new research that is showing that if you have a doppelganger that is out there, and you know who they are, or you've met them or whatever, or haven't met them, you don't just look alike, you actually share the same DNA as well.
What?
Wow.
Wow.
So
Yes.
How
Wait,
did that
so-
possible?
I'm calling
That's
Megan
so-
Trainor tomorrow.
Yeah,
yeah,
I want you to
We're
We're getting
listen
our
to me.
DNA tested.
We got to find out where she's
But-
going to have her next concert.
and it's
No, I'm
not
calling
like well, it's not just like
I'm
your
sending her a
actual
Q-tip.
DNA.
Suck on and then send it back to me.
Yeah,
We're
So
about
it's
to
not
get
like
our
the
restraining
actual-
order is what we're about to get from Megan Trainor if she ever hears about this podcast.
but
No,
it's
she'll be
not.
totally blown away. She'll be like,
We're going, whoa, that's
"Is that me?"
She'll be
I didn't-
blown away, that's for sure. She'll be blown away.
So
blown right into
there-
the
in the
lawyer's office.
research, there was only 32 pairs of doppelgangers that have, because there were, like I think they posted on social media, like share your face, let's find your doppelganger kind of thing. So 16 of the 32 doppelgangers, so half of the study, their overall scores were similar to identical twins.
Wow.
But so it's not the same exact DNA type things, but it's like your DNA
Related.
structure is the same. Yeah. So it's not like you're sharing like a family history, but it's your DNA. So it's their DNA sequence is similar.
I was gonna say, so is it kind of like familial DNA where like you have basically DNA passed down from generations, or is it like, do you think it's like
So-
somewhere along the line doppelgangers were related, like came
So
from?
Yeah, I don't
somebody?
know. So I didn't read like the whole article because I was at work when I saw this, and I'm trying not to like do it. But it does say here that people who look more alike have more genes in common, and so it'd be like common sense, but it's never been shown kind of thing. So yeah, it's like they have the same DNA sequence. So it's kind of similar with identical twins that share exact same DNA
That's
type of
pretty
things
cool.
too. So it's
That's very
interesting. So it could be that they do have like a family history, like way down the line or whatever. but,
Right.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool.
And wasn't Megan Trainor born like in September, same year you were born, Kat?
No,
So
December.
she was born the same year I was born, on the
22nd,
same day Jesse
1993.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Same day
right.
Jesse was
December
born,
22nd of
my year.
1993. Yeah.
Which
That's
is like kind of like
Yeah.
it's a little too coincidental. Like that is kind of very
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah. So I thought I just wanted to touch base because that was a new news, as of today. It was in the New York Times. So there's a whole big article about it. And there's a bunch of like living doppelgangers pictured in the news article and stuff too. So just
Well, that
all
would
the
be-
different people that were tested. I think they were part of the 32 pairs that were part of this.
testing. But wouldn't it be interesting to know if their birthdays shared like the same year? And I mean, that would be kind of interesting to know out of all of those tests, if their DNA
Yeah.
matched and then they were born. I mean, like Cassie, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I would want to know if they were like all born in the same.
I
Like,
mean,
obviously not
like
all
yours
born,
is
but like
very
born in the
much-
same year, or like,
Yeah,
because that is strange.
I
like-
don't. So
Having
these
the
ones,
same life path
I don't-
number.
right.
Yeah,
right. I'm just thinking,
right. And I don't think that they were born in the same year or anything like that. But I
be
think
interesting
they all
to
seem
find
like
out.
pretty close. Like they're close in age at least, within like a 5-year period, I would think. But in this, I'm kind of skipping through it, but it looks too that they're seeing that because there's the same appearance in the DNA strands, that is there an option for these doppelgangers to be able to donate blood or organs and all that to
Oh,
a
donate
doppelganger.
to each other. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be interesting to know too.
So there's a lot of things that, with science
Okay,
that could be coming up with it. So
here's our next project then.
mhm.
I shouldn't even say it because no, I can't say it. I'll tell you guys privately, but we got a new project we're gonna do.
Okay.
No, we cannot
Okay,
kidnap
sounds
Megan
good.
Trainor.
Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna put that out there right now.
Megan Trainor is gonna be our surprise.
She does
guest
have a
next
really
week.
she has a really cute son, but she's married to a spy kid, so I think he's gonna kick her
Yeah,
ass.
she is.
What?
Just saying.
She's married
a
to
spy kid.
Us from the Spy Kids movie. Junie from the Spy Kids movie.
Oh,
Never mind. Mom's never seen Spy Kids.
His name is Daryl.
Daryl something, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and she has a new little baby. Well, she's probably a year old now.
It's a boy.
It's a boy.
A boy. Okay.
What they name
I
it?
knew she had a baby.
Don't know. I don't know.
You should.
You should know.
Didn't you
Like,
know you had a
why?
baby boy?
Because I follow her on TikTok. Well, actually, I don't even think I follow her on TikTok. I follow one of her friends on TikTok who's always at her house.
Chris.
I seen her on.
Chris.
So
That is who I follow.
I don't follow anybody. I just see them on TV.
Okay, I'm pretty excited though. We got a new project we're gonna work on.
Okay.
But we can't.
Well, let's get to tonight's topic.
Why we're here.
Real
I
topic.
thought this was our topic. Come on, I really enjoy open conversations. And I think our guests probably do too. Because then we talk about so much
Let's
different.
have an open conversation about your topic this week.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I know you have it because you texted me about it. So you got to do it this week.
I know. But I do like open conversations. And from now on, that's what we just need to be for me.
Let's get on with it.
Okay. So
Okay.
my topic today is the extra strength Tylenol murders.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You know,
This is a good one.
well, I don't know if I'm gonna cover it very well. Somebody else might have should have done it. But in September of 1982, the first person that was killed was a Mary Kellerman. She was 12 years old and she was complaining of a headache. And so they gave her an extra strength Tylenol. And within hours, she had died. And then the next person was Adam James, and he was 27. And it was all in like the Chicago area, these deaths
Mhm.
that it had happened. And he died in the hospital because he was rushed to the hospital. And while he was in the hospital, they gave him a Tylenol, and they called an ambulance. He was at home, in his home, and there was quite a few people there because his brother-in-law and sister-in-law are, I don't know about that, but he took a Tylenol and he was in the hospital, and his brother and his sister-in-law, which his brother was 25 and his sister-in-law was 19, also died because he had a bottle of Tylenol sitting on the table. So when they went back to his apartment or home,
They Tylenol.
they got a headache and they took one of the Tylenols in the bottle, and it was linked with potassium cyanide. And
Wow. So just so I can get this straight. So he at home has a headache, takes the Tylenol, and it affects him. So they're taken to the hospital where they give him more Tylenol.
no, they didn't give him any more Tylenol at the hospital.
Oh, I thought
Okay, I thought you said that they gave it to him at the hospital, which I was like, wow,
No,
that's
no,
crazy.
no, he went to the hospital and
After he got
right, and then
But then his brother and sister-in-law afterwards go back to his house. They have a headache and take the Tylenol.
and they take the Tylenol and they get rushed to the hospital, and so then the police go in thinking that there's some sort of
chemical leak.
chemical in this home, and or something that made these people die, because 3 people in one family died of
Mhm.
a sudden death, and they couldn't
Mhm.
figure out why. And so then later they found that, they went in and they found out that this Paula, or no, then within a few days later, a Mary McFarland, and she was 31, died of
Mhm.
the same causes. And then a Paula Prince, she was 35, and Mary Rayner, 27, all died of similar incidents. So then they kind of linked it together, and they realized that they had all taken Tylenol, and so they went back to that house where the 3 people died. They took the Tylenol and found out that it was linked with cyanide. And so
Laced.
it was laced with it. And it was only the gel capsules because
Uh-oh.
Because they
wasn't
put a
anything else.
syringe in there.
And they
Oh.
took it apart and put the cyanide in the capsule, and then they put them back together, and it was proven that it would take 10
Okay, then
minutes.
it's not gel capsules. It's just regular capsules.
Yeah,
Right.
the
Powder.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you
okay.
can pull
That's
it apart.
what.
put
Well,
it back
even that,
together.
I don't know why, but I was thinking it was the non-capsuled pills.
no,
Because
no.
that
It was a
takes time
capsule.
to basically take it apart and put the poison
Right.
in there.
That's what I was thinking.
And
So
so
that means every pill had it in there.
well, not every
Mhm.
pill, only a certain
But
amount.
3
of
people in one house
In one
die.
household, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
their
gotta be
bottle
in
had
at
to
least
have-
every.
Yeah.
Well, they might have just
Yeah.
hit the right time. I don't know. I don't
That's
understand,
insane.
but maybe all of them had a thing of it. And once you get cyanide in your body, does anybody know what it does to it? The cyanide prevents your cells of the body from using oxygen. And the most important part of your body is your heart and your
What
lungs
needs oxygen.
that need the oxygen. And your
Mhm.
heart and your lungs are the ones that use the most oxygen, and it cuts off all your oxygen going into your body when
They
you take cyanide.
suffocate.
Mhm.
Yes, so it
Mhm.
suffocated them. And so they found out, and then of course they Johnson & Johnson went straight and recalled all of their bottles, and come to find out there were and found they found out that the manufacturer that manufactured them out of Pennsylvania and Texas suggested the capsules were tampered, but they think that whoever did this went into the store and tampered them, took the bottles and then put them back on the shelf. So, and like they said, that it would only take amount of 10 minutes to do so many pills in
Well-
each bottle.
Well, I think she
Well, the
bought
thing though
them.
too,
She bought them,
Right.
did it, and then returned them. Like
Right.
Gee,
No,
I don't
you
think they-
can't, you can't return them, and they can't put them back on the shelf if you buy. But
Well, you
well,
take
probably
them-
back then.
Back
Yeah,
then.
probably back then.
but I think what I was thinking was that there was a container bought, and then those capsules were used, and instead of being used what they're supposed to, filled with cyanide, and then those they just took
Take it back
handfuls of them
in
in
there.
their pockets, and because this whole murder, this whole thing led to the safety seals being put on, any
Mhm.
liquids or any medicines. That's why
Right.
we have those tamper seals now. So before
Right.
that, you could just open a bottle and it would be completely open. So they could have just
Right.
thrown.
exactly,
That's
and that's
how
what they
things
said.
in
a lot of laws.
The police
Right.
are saying that it wasn't done at the manufacturer, that it was done
Right.
at the store. So somebody went into the store and tainted all of the Tylenol at these stores. And you don't know if it's still an unsolved. They don't know who did this or why they did this. They have a guy his name was James Lewis, that was accused of doing it and spent 19 years in prison, and his wife Leanne waited for him, and he lived in New York at the time, and sent a letter back to Johnson & Johnson saying that these documents, he was responsible, or what he had said, and it proved that he could have been a suspect, but they could never, none of the documents in 2009 could prove that he did it. They didn't have enough to charge him. So, I mean, to charge him of the murders, but they charged him for writing the letters and saying what they did, or I don't know exactly. But in 2010, he and his wife submitted DNA and fingerprints to the authorities, and Lewis continues to deny that he had any responsibility to the poisoning. And then another person, they had another suspect was Roger Arnold, and both suspects and Lori Dan, but they couldn't get enough evidence to say that they didn't have enough evidence to convict anybody. And there were so many copycats when this come out. Johnson & Johnson, of course, took all legal action and did the advertising. And on October of, wait a second, hold on. Johnson & Johnson manufactured Tylenol, put the warnings out to the hospitals and all the distributors to put the production on hold. And
They
then
recalled all the products.
they recalled all of the products. And then after the incident in California, a nationwide recall was issued because another copycat on October 5th of 1982. That was the estimated of 31 million bottles were in circulation, and Johnson & Johnson, when they did the recall, and they only took the bottles that had the powder in them, the gel capsule powder, whatever. And then they offered all, Johnson & Johnson's offered all exchange of any of the tablets, the gel tablets, and gave them a replacement of all of the solid ones. And then in 1992, the Consumers developed, or 1982, that's when Consumers developed a tamper-resistant packaging, and then it became a federal law that it was a criminal. It was a criminal act if you tampered with any of bottles or medicine or anything. And then the Washington Post applauded Johnson & Johnson for being so honest with the public. And within several months, Tylenol regained its highest market share over the counter in the United States. So after all of this got cleared up and they figured out what was going on, and Johnson & Johnson got a hold of the police, they wanted to be on top of it. They were trying to find out who could do this, who held grudges against Johnson & Johnson. And like I said, the James Lewis and his wife were the prime suspects of it, but they could never get enough information to
well, I mean, this has got to be a hard case to even really find evidence for, because like Jesse, like you said, like I think the person probably just bought one bottle of capsules, Tylenol capsules, took it home, laced them, like all the pills with cyanide, and then basically went into different stores, opened up one or two bottles, threw in like 4 or 5, and then moved on. So like, how do you, that's, and this is before security cameras in regular stores.
Story when it happened, but for some reason in my mind, I thought it was a woman that did this. And I thought
that's what I thought too.
One of the women,
her name was
one of the copycats.
Yeah,
I was gonna say one of the copycats was a woman who killed her husband and his lover. And she was caught.
And some of the findings were saying that it was in one of the Oh no, I can't think of it. I didn't write it down. The murders in Chicago. It was the
gangs.
no, it wasn't a gang. It was a murdered a serial killer.
In the
He
80s?
was a well-known serial killer, and they had blamed him, but he was.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
It wasn't. It become a Unabomber or somebody that did the Unabomber.
Well, it was about that time, so
Right.
they probably
yeah.
linked the two together, but they really didn't.
And
Oh.
No,
they
but
like-
there's
oh,
really
okay.
no.
not
Okay,
Yeah,
I-
because he sent letters and, you know,
right.
he sent bombs in the mail to
But I
his
mean,
it stands for it's an
it's
acronym
university.
for something.
University.
Yeah, it's universities.
Yeah.
It was like he sent it to universities.
Yeah,
put on
university.
planes.
I'm
And
trying to.
I can't remember what the acronym is though.
And
Yeah, I
it
can't
ended up
remember.
killed six adults and then one child. So
And I don't remember a child being the first one. I guess I didn't realize.
Yeah, that was the first one.
I-
The 13-year-old was the first victim.
For some reason, I thought that most of them were children.
No,
I thought it was the opposite. I
I
thought
don't
most of
remember
them
it
were
being that way
children.
because
nope. It was
typically
just
you
one.
wouldn't give a child Tylenol, you'd give them a baby.
Well, she was 13.
Not extra strength.
She was
Like not
she was-
extra strength. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She was 13, so she was old enough to take a Tylenol, a regular Tylenol. And it
But-
wasn't all extra strength Tylenol. It was just all Tylenol included.
Right. Well,
I
I
But
remember
this-
that they also used to give
capsule.
kids brandy, so I don't think Tylenol was really like on the
No,
scale of.
I do remember. I feel like I remember too, and I'm probably wrong, but that back then you could return a bottle of aspirin and say, "Oh, they got the wrong
You
one."
probably
Sure,
could
yeah.
back then.
That
I'm
was
sure
what-
you could. Yeah,
It changed that when that happened because
right,
I just
Well,
remember a woman being involved that
right.
would buy the Tylenol, take it home, then return it till the next person.
Right.
Well, that I don't know. That James Lewis was convicted because of extortion and because he wrote letters, sending letters to the Tylenol manufacturers, Johnson and Johnson's, that he took responsibility for the deaths and demanded $1 million to stop them.
Oh,
So
Hmm.
that's why he got convicted, but they couldn't prove that he really did it. So
Well, especially if you're trying to extort $1 million, $100
Right,
million.
and
It probably wasn't. He was probably
And-
just trying to take advantage of the situation.
right.
yeah, and then the Roger Arnold, I'm trying to find it. I was supposed to check up on him because I was going to check more on him, but
It was pretty scary at the time.
yeah,
Well,
it was
yeah.
really-
I was gonna
It was
say though
really
too.
scary
This also
because-
led to the Halloween candy being poisoned because
and they
At
said
that was
time,
something.
It was like it could be in anything. That you're
And
buying.
they said that when
Right.
that happened, when this Tylenol thing happened, of course, it happened in September, and then on October 5th was
Yeah.
when the other lady died. That was October 5th. It was a nation called recall because of I'm trying to think of the name. I think it was that Mary Rayner or Paula Prince. Either one of those ladies. That when it hit them, that was the last straw. They said take all the stuff off, and then Halloween was coming, and they warned all parents to not take their kids trick or treating. And I remember that year because you guys were just little. I mean,
Nope.
And you were like, "We're
Wow.
getting no candy."
well, no,
82.
Okay. Well, neither of us.
82.
Were born, none of us. None of us
82.
were born
Yeah,
in '82.
None of us was.
none of you guys were born, but
Well, As far as the Halloween candy goes, I mean, that was a warning back when I was a kid. in the
yes,
60s.
but
So,
when
I mean-
that happened, Halloween
Just
candy
renewed
sales
fear
dropped.
of that.
they dropped tremendously.
Right, a new renewed fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
And
yeah.
they were putting
Can you imagine?
when I was a kid,
Like,
of course I never had candy, they got contaminated, but they were putting like acid and drugs into candy.
Right.
To,
And,
make
oh,
the
that,
kids, to get high, not to kill them.
wow.
Right. So I just looked up. So here
I ate a
in
lot of candy.
May,
Yeah, Roger Arnold, he died.
who's really gonna give up their drugs to a
I'm
child?
like,
Let's be
yeah,
honest.
I
don't think I believe that one.
He had a nervous breakdown.
we've had a
And,
couple cases in Michigan where the kids just took the candy from their
Happened.
parents and then took it to school and offered it to their friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't candy.
And that lady went to jail,
No.
didn't she?
I
No.
think she just got sentenced. Yeah, I think she just got
Oh,
sentenced.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 30 milligram gummies.
I
It was
mean, but
huge. And
still, it's
it
not
was
like she
it was like a
purposely
first
gave.
grader.
I know, but
They-
like
they
still, it's not
found
like
him
she
on the
purposely
couch.
gave it to him.
They found him on
Like
the couch.
it's legal.
It's like saying
It's
the alcoholic didn't purposely run somebody over.
Well, no, because it's not that. It would be like, it would be like charging a child with, oh, this kid while we were gone drank all of our liquor in our cabinets and filled it up with water.
Well, you
And
should
their
know.
friends came over. Their friends came over and drank the liquor as well. Now you're getting charged to spend time in jail. Like it's not your I don't know. That's
No.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to make that kind of stuff in your house, it's your responsibility to keep
she's not
that.
making it in her house.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, she made it in her house.
Yeah, she made it in her
Yeah,
Yeah,
house.
she made it
And she
herself.
made it,
in her
like-
house and then left it where
Like
her
twice
kids
as
could
potent as you
reach
could
it
go
and
buy them
get to
for.
school.
And
Yeah,
so,
okay,
yeah, she
fine,
had a
fine.
responsibility to keep them away from her.
All right,
kids.
fine, but
In that case, they shut down like the whole school because so many kids were like passing out or like like they
Well, they
got
thought the
so
school
many to
had
the hospital and
carbon
stuff too.
dioxide or something like that going on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which,
yeah,
by the
they
way,
shut down the
today-
school because they weren't sure what was going on.
Today at work, we're sitting there talking. It was like when we first got there, right? And this fire truck comes in with the lights going and everything, and they pulled right in, right? So then they get out. We're like, what are they doing? And all of a sudden they get these wands out, So, so I go, well, somebody go let him in, And so he comes in, and I'm like, well, I was gonna get up, but I was just so tired I couldn't get up from my seat. I knew they were there to check for carbon dioxide,
Mm.
So I'm like, well, I'm too tired to get up. So
got it.
So, but
cops check your carbon monoxide.
well,
I've never.
apparently our things were going off.
Oh,
They called them.
Mhm.
We didn't even know
Got
it, but it automatically.
got it. But yeah, that would. I mean, like obviously I wasn't alive during this, but like that's got to be terrifying to like. We don't know which bottles have it. If it is
Right.
just Tylenol, like it could have been anything,
Right,
like
right.
any kind of medication, any kind of something that you take ingest. Like that'd be scary.
And I feel like it was a while before they narrowed it down to Tylenol. They didn't know
Yeah,
what it was.
what it
Well,
was.
and like they say, there were so many people being copycats and saying that
Right.
it was linked to different things, and then somebody had accused that Roger Arnold. His name was
Roger Arnold.
no,
The accuser.
they
It was Roger Arnold.
Martin
Looking for.
Martin Sinclair.
Marty Sinclair.
Yeah, Martin Sinclair accused Roger Arnold of tampering with it. And so Roger Arnold had a nervous breakdown, and he went and shot a Mr. Stanisha because he thought that he was shooting Sinclair, and he ended up going to prison for 40 years. And then as soon as he was released, he died in like June of 2009. But he was wrongfully accused by that Martin Sinclair. So I don't know if Sinclair had a vengeance against him, and they worked at Johnson and Johnson. It doesn't say, but
Mhm.
It just says that Martin Sinclair, an informer who had told police that Mr. Arnold kept cyanide
Informant.
in his home. No arrests were ever made in the Tylenol killing. So, but he waited, that Ronald Arnold waited outside a tavern to kill Mr. Sinclair and ended up shooting a Mr. Standish, who was 46, resembling Martin Sinclair. He wrongfully killed the wrong man and ended up going to prison because of
Killing
being
the wrong person.
Yeah, he killed the wrong person, but what I'm trying to say is he was accused and he went crazy and then ended up murdering somebody.
If you were blamed for a murder,
yeah,
it ruins your life.
I've always wondered that people that are in jail for 20 years wrongfully because of a murder. I'm like, how do you get through a day?
And how do you justify their life afterwards when they get released? No,
Right.
when they finally find out, oh, these people didn't really do it.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I mean,
they live off of the lawsuits that they win because of that.
I know, but that's they deserve all this.
But that's not all. That's some. But even look at
but think of
the Olympic bomber
with all of these.
Yeah,
right.
The guy they accused of being the Olympic bomber. His life was ruined after that, and he didn't even do it. He was a hero.
Very difficult to be accused of something like that, and where you just can't do anything to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think with media in general, because we as a world, we're so fascinated. I mean, look at us with our podcast. We're so fascinated by these stories, but even the kidnap and rape victims that are able to escape, and then they become this huge news source, and like these news stories, and their faces everywhere. How are they supposed to get on with their lives? And like, oh, you're the girl that was kidnapped and raped and kept for 10 years, and like, now you want a job with us, like.
Right.
Like how are they supposed to move on with their lives?
Well, that's why I've never believed in capital punishment.
Right.
There's just too many people that were innocent, and and plus, I don't think if your life's over, that's a punishment. I think that's a reward. You know what I mean?
Right.
Your punishment would be sitting and thinking about what you did, not
right.
But that has to have a level of self-reflecting, because I don't really believe in capital punishment either. I don't believe in death sentences, but I also don't believe that some people feel guilty about their crimes.
Some people just don't have any empathy.
There are evil people that are never gonna, but that doesn't outweigh the people that got killed for no reason, for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And I definitely think, well, if you think like I do, that life's hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Afterlife is when you experience good things. That's not to say you should take your life short, but I'm just saying that's not a punishment.
On the other hand, though, too, like if somebody has no empathy for what they've done, maybe life is hard for them, but then they get accused and sentenced for a murder or whatever. Now they're in prison for the rest of their life, and they have no responsibilities. They just have to abide by the rules, but they can get away with things. Don't
feel guilty for what they did. They're sitting
there. We're
there
paying for them to
stay
alive,
because in their mind they don't deserve it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I also think in prisons. I mean, I don't know.
And you know what? Even if they're enjoying themselves, even if they're sitting there enjoying their days,
they're out of society.
Human society can say they're put away. We don't have to worry about it.
I agree with that. That it doesn't matter about their feelings. They're out of the works.
Right. That's a good way to put it. Their feelings.
We pay for it though.
Who cares? Right.
But who cares?
Sure, I get it.
But that's the thing is, like, if they're out of society, my tax money can go to them watching TV all day. I don't care as
Right,
long as they're
right.
out of society.
of
Like,
society.
it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
As long as
And
they're out.
that's a whole nother story when the people say about my tax dollars.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be like that. Prisons don't have to be luxury places to go
The
to.
glorious
And
thing.
that's only because
Yeah.
they were privately owned. The government doesn't own them.
They get paid per person that's
So,
in
right.
there. So that's
So it's
that's the problem.
It's a racket. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's the problem we should address. You know.
I agree. I agree with that. I just wanted to throw that one out there, play a little devil's advocate on.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like-
It's a hard situation that, like, there really isn't
Mhm.
any winners when it comes to this kind of situation. But
I mean, if you
even when
watch
they
any
spend
prison
they'll
TV
spend
show,
millions of dollars proving this person is crazy. Well, of course they're crazy. Why do we
Right.
got to,
Yeah.
why do we got to prove it?
right?
Their actions proved it. Just
Right.
go on if they're crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, Denise, did we cut you off? I mean, are you done with your story? Or?
No, I was just trying to figure out some of the other stuff that I might have missed, but
It started a whole thing with tampering with.
It all started
Right.
with the 12-year-old saying that she had a headache and she wasn't feeling well, and everybody that had died, they just the doctors assumed that it was a stroke until the same day that Mary Kellerman passed away, the 13-year-old, the postal carrier, which was the next guy, James, it said James something else, but I had Adam James, but this one in here said that it was Adam Janus. So
Anyways,
Janus.
John. So it wasn't James, but he died the same day. But they rushed into the hospital and they thought that he had a massive heart attack, where they thought that the 12-year-old had a stroke. So
I wonder
when his brother and sister-in-law went back to James's house, or Adam's house, they were mourning him, and that's when they found, and they got headaches because they were in such grief that
Probably dehydrated from crying.
They couldn't believe that he had died so suddenly, and they found the bottle of Tylenol sitting on his counter, and that's where he had taken it. So, and then he was rushed to the hospital. So
my question,
and it doesn't say how he got to the hospital, if he called the ambulance himself or if he called 911, because it doesn't say how long it takes for the victim. It said the 12-year-old girl collapsed in the bathroom shortly after taking the medicine, and
Cyanide's quick.
yeah, so
Cyanide is very quick.
It doesn't say how. It just said that he was a postal carrier, so maybe I don't know how he
probably whoever he fell, somebody called the ambulance.
well, the thing with a 12-year-old girl compared to a 27-year-old man, it probably hit her system. It probably hit her system a lot quicker and harder than
Right.
and the 27-year-old.
because,
I don't know if he took the medicine before he went to work, and then when he got to the post office, he had collapsed. But it's just said that James or Adams was rushed to the hospital dead from what looked like a massive heart attack. So I don't know who found him, but it just said the people, and
were they all taken to the same hospital? Do you know?
It doesn't say that if they were, because they were in different cities. Like the Kellerman, she died in Elk Grove, where I don't know the Chicago.
Yeah,
area.
they
Were in the Chicago area, but one was in Arlington Heights, one was in Elk Grove.
But that's what I was thinking too. Is like you have all these same people.
So if the
like
person
the people dying all the same, right? But if they're all at different hospitals, the hospitals didn't communicate the way that they do now. They don't really communicate now either. But like it's just you didn't have that communication.
But then once those once the other ones died, they came to the conclusion that it was somehow linked to, and it didn't take long for them to do it. Where Dad said that he thought that it took a long time to figure out why or how. But then they tested when they went back to the doctors. The police went back into, after his brother and sister-in-law died, they went back into the house, and then they thought that it was poisoning or some sort of
like carbon monoxide or something. Yeah.
Right. Some sort of so they went in and investigated the house, and I don't know if they, at one point I thought that I'd read that they took the Tylenol and somehow figured that it was the Tylenol. Or somebody said that they took or gave them Tylenol. The girl took a Tylenol, and so they went in and got the Tylenol bottle.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they
and then tested.
Because
that's what
I guess they did an autopsy on all the bodies, or when they all died, they all died of the same thing. So then they figured that they all had cyanide poisoning in their body.
I kind of wonder though too if it wasn't for the 3 that were related,
right?
That
If
died,
they would have ever found out.
If they would have ever found out what actually happened, because that's probably where like one of those 2 that took it later, they probably said, oh, he was like feeling fine, he had a headache, so he took some Tylenol, and then he that's when everything started happening, and he had all these symptoms. And then with those people, like if they were able to communicate, it would have been, oh, they took Tylenol too, or like I had a headache, I took Tylenol, and then it just doing that police work of those 3 people all took Tylenol. There's a bottle of Tylenol on the counter.
Right.
Maybe we should test it.
Right. When 3 people at one house died.
Right.
Yeah,
Something in the house. Yeah.
The brother died like the next day, and the sister-in-law died 2 days later.
Oh.
Right. So so that's where they had time to say, oh yeah, because usually when you go to the hospital, okay, what did you eat? What did you ingest? What those are the kind of questions. Like if you're not sick and stuff, they probably were asking that. Oh, we were at his funeral. We had headaches. We took Tylenol. And so that I kind of wonder if it wasn't for those 3, if they would have ever really completely found out that it was actually Tylenol.
Right. And maybe
it would take them a lot longer.
Whoever was
I think it would take longer.
Whoever tampered with the Tylenol, maybe they didn't have the one that the sister-in-law took. Maybe they didn't put enough in one of the capsules that it didn't kill her instantly, or
or maybe one of the capsules kind of exploded, so she just had the residue powder rather than a whole.
Exactly, maybe.
Kind of thing. But
you just don't know.
Once they pulled the Tylenol off the shelves, they found other bottles that had the contaminated capsules in it.
Right, they found
on the shelf still.
Other than the 5 bottles that they had that killed the that they tested from the bottles, they had found other bottles contaminated, but they said that they didn't really know how many bottles were contaminated because of the mere fact that most people that had the Tylenol in their home, they threw it away. Where some of them returned it back to the stores that they purchased it from, and those are the bottles that they checked. So only the bottles that were returned were checked, and in every one of those bottles, it was found that cyanide was put in those.
Oh wow, everyone?
Yes, all of the bottles that they had gotten, or that were returned, had some sort of link or some sort of a Tylenol contaminated. Or something.
There was a mass amount. That's why they thought it happened at the factory, because the thought that
there were so many.
And they never did really prove that it wasn't done in the factory too.
No, well, that's something too. It's like nobody really knows why this happened. Like why somebody decided to do this.
Like they said, the police, Johnson & Johnson were working with the police to try to find out who or where all these bottles were that were contaminated and who could have had a vindictive against them. They really worked like I said, the Washington Post said that they applauded them, and they were very open-minded, and they were very clear that they really wanted to know who did this. And
And afterwards, when it was
and
all
it's still the number one
Tylenol, because it was off the market for I don't know how long, a long time. But they their thing was they started a whole new campaign how safe packaged it was, which nobody else had. So they started that. And
they did.
That's why they survived, because now they were showing how safe it was. Well, now the other drug people had that. They were the only ones that.
Right. So and that's what I'm saying, that Tylenol ended up being their shares. They ended up being, but they lost billions of dollars.
Right.
In the process of taking all of it. And that it wasn't on the shelves, but then once it got back, now it's number one seller.
Yeah. But I think that at the time, though, too, they took accountability and got in front of the whole issue.
They got in front of it.
And
they tried to cover it up.
Right.
They got in front of it. Yeah.
Right. They it was kind of being proactive, in a reactive situation. I just, there's apple seeds have cyanide in them. Did you guys know that?
What's
that? Supposed to eat apple seeds.
Apple seeds have cyanide in them. It's a very, very small amount, but maybe that's something too with the people that survived a little bit longer after taking the Tylenol. Maybe they had kind of a
immunity.
They ate, because I know people that eat the entire apple, seeds and everything.
And
they eat the entire thing.
The entire apple.
Why would you?
Can. Yeah,
I don't know why you do.
Some people do.
Yeah,
some people do. I know people that do that, and so that's where maybe the female that survived a couple of days, maybe she ate apples regularly, like the whole apple regularly, so she had kind of a buildup in her system.
Could be. I imagine she probably took one and the husband took two, because
that's probably what it was too.
Like I said, it didn't happen.
Maybe she had a lot more food in her system that kind of
right.
I don't know which way it was.
You just don't know, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe the person that contaminated each of the capsules, he probably was just putting a little bit in because they were, they had to have done them in the store. So whoever took them off the shelf had to have worked at the stores, and whether they were at Walmart Walgreens, or some of them were bought at Walgreens and different places. You just don't know if it could have been a worker at one of the stores that distributed them and sold them in Chicago.
Could have been anybody, but I think, like I said, they either returned them or they just took the bottle and and just kind of stuck them on the shelf. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Because you don't need to return it. You could just buy a bottle, fill the bottle with a bunch of cyanide pills, throw it back on the shelf when nobody's because in 1982, stores didn't have video surveillance like they do now.
Things weren't behind glass doors.
Right. Weren't locked up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think all medicine has advantages and disadvantages, because just recently they took all of the cold medicine and you couldn't buy it unless you were, asked it for behind the counter. So
you want to know why, though, right?
Well, it was.
You know why?
Tampering.
No.
They're making meth.
Because that's how people make meth.
Yeah. Yes. I did.
That's why you can only buy so many bottles, and you have to be 18.
That's why I always tell you to stay out of the camper in the back.
I was gonna say, you can thank Breaking Bad, the TV show, for that problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what made that popular.
Well, that's what I'm saying. All these shows that they put on TV, they have copycatters that go out and do it. But
well, like a school shootings.
Yeah.
Well, that's also something that's portrayed in media a lot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I will have to say, I didn't realize that they did actually, for a while in 2011, think that Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was involved. I didn't realize that at all, but he was like active. He was active during those years. It is kind of. He says he never worked at Cyanide, but that is kind of something that was along his boats of like do it discreetly and hurt. And like his things was like he put it in places where just random people could get hurt. So it's not like he had like certain people that he was only interested in.
Yeah, he didn't really target anybody specifically. But I did look up too. Unabomber
he did.
University.
He later on he sent it to their personal addresses, but in the beginning he was putting it on planes. He was putting it in universities. Like he didn't. It wasn't really necessarily for
like
people.
He would send a package to the president of the university, so he'd send it to the university, but in care of the person he wanted to open it, because several of them, the secretaries opened it, for
No, because a lot of I'm looking at like the thing. Maybe like he addressed it to like the president, but like especially the American Airlines ones, it was just I think in a suitcase. The first one at Northwestern University, a police officer was hurt, and a graduate student was hurt. So like it was probably just in the middle of campus. There's like a couple that are for specific people, but it was there's.
We're probably getting these mixed up too. Are you talking about the Unabomber?
Yeah. Well, he was
Unabomber.
He was one of the suspects in this Tylenol.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I can see that because it was at that time.
Right. And his parents lived in the Chicago suburb area.
His first few instances were in Chicago suburbs during right before that.
Yes.
So that it makes sense why he was questioned for it. But Unabomber stands for
but it wasn't until 2011
Airline Bomber.
Yes.
University what?
Airline.
University Airline Bomber.
But it wasn't until 2011 that they questioned him about that. So it was like years and years after.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Which is weird, but
because they were still trying to get,
they still don't know who did this. So
in 2009, they're still to this day, 20 years later, they still don't know.
30.
Nope.
30.
40.
40.
40.
Well, I was thinking, I read something.
Actually,
40 read something that said 20.
40, because 82, 22.
2 to 40. 40. Yep. 40 years.
20. Yeah. Well, then
40 years.
40 years. Yeah.
This September.
Wow. I read somewhere, most serial killers are their astrological signs are like Scorpios and Virgos.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, which Odin's a Virgo.
I'm a Virgo.
Okay, you are too.
Yeah, and so is Grandpa. So is Danielle. You guys are all.
I was just reading my astrological chart recently, and it's like I can see it because it's very compulsive. Things have to be your way. You don't really like chaos. You have to have a certain plan. You've got to do this, and it's like I can see a serial killer.
That strikes me as you, Danielle, and Odin. Odin doesn't want, just like today, he forgot his shoes. I forgot my shoes. I gotta get my shoes. Okay. Oh, he likes it his way or no way.
There's another example.
He's very stubborn.
And that's okay. That's okay.
I just seen this the other day. There were serial killers. They all have one thing in common. Something about the way they are brought up.
What?
Abuse
from
parents.
Well, it's all the same.
A lot of them have brain injuries as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez. What's his name? The guy the co-ed killer. who
Yeah,
like
something.
they all
God,
have a
yeah.
like it's like a very common. Even Ted Bundy had
Yes.
a brain injury when he was a young kid, so they think it's something to do with
Maybe that's what
basically
it was.
something like
I was
it
watching
it
something, and they named off the guy who was doing it said all serial killers have this in common. So the other guy in the interview started naming off, and it was true. Like it was like every single one of them had this. Maybe it was a brain
Yeah.
injury kid.
mhm.
And wasn't it true? I mean, maybe I'm off kilter, but wasn't it something to do with whatever the football players?
So yes,
Yeah.
that is like
Because of
that's
the
kind of
head
how
injury?
that's kind of how that conversation got started because a lot of football players who have repeated concussions are now
Yes,
being
that's what it
proven
is.
to have extreme brain trauma, which
Mhm.
basically what your
I
brain
did-
like if you even like lose a small piece of your brain like it changes your personality completely.
Yes.
And so they think that that's basically when they started going like, oh, all these other serial killers
Had the same
have
brain.
had well, it's not the same brain injury, but it's
Well-
like they've had brain injuries.
They all
So
had
it's
brain
they're
injuries
starting
as
to
a
connect.
child.
And
Yeah.
and they took MRIs on all of these people, and they had the same.
Well, it with
Mm.
concussions because you're
Yeah.
like the concussion it comes from your brain
Yeah.
basically hitting the sides of your skull.
Right.
And
right.
so it's basically killing off brain cells every time
Yes.
you do that. And so like it will like a normal healthy human brain will basically take up the entirety of your skull. And when they do MRIs on these people who have had severe concussions, their brain is like extremely small. And so
Yeah.
like that's just how much brain matter they've lost from concussions.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Like they
I read that
Charles
too.
Manson, they were saying how his mother beat him. I mean, constantly.
Yeah. Oh, he was
Yeah.
a very very abused.
Yeah.
Hey,
And a lot of them that like serial killers that the parents are controllers or the mothers are controllers. They're just I mean
Mm-hmm.
it stems to
it's always the
how-
mother.
how the
Always
brain.
mother
Well-
is overwhelming.
Well,
No, not
well, here's the thing. And I've said this before and I'll say it a million times. Death rate or serial killer rates went down when abortions became legal
Yes.
because people who
Yes.
did not want to have kids were no longer
forced.
It is
Forced
have
to
children.
have kids. Yeah.
And the abusive
Or the
mother
women
thing
that were-
is it comes from
Yeah.
these are not like most of them if you really look at it are single mothers who
Yeah,
have a child
that's right.
because they're single mothers because the father left.
Right.
So they're abusive and the father's not because the father's not there, they're absentee.
Right.
Mhm.
And the stress
But
on
also,
and the stress for the woman and trying to raise a child and it's
But
damaging.
it's a child they didn't want. Like a
Yes.
lot of them just didn't want that child to begin with. So that
And
comes
it's
with a
sad
lot of
because so many people
anger.
want to. There are options.
Okay, guys.
Yep, we gotta wrap it up.
anything to add to the story about the Tylenol?
I'm
be
glad that
careful with what you buy.
yes,
if
and
you
make
have-
sure that it's not tampered.
If your safety seal is not sealed correctly, don't use it.
Right.
Give it a couple like squeezes. Make sure there's no
And
holes in the top.
you women,
No, like
that-
seriously, like don't if
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't like inflate, it's tampered with.
and
Yeah.
you women out there who feel like you're trapped in a marriage where your husband's cheating on you, there is a way out.
You don't have to kill them.
You don't have to kill them.
Out.
For
Oh, it's
entertainment
staying in.
purposes only.
We are just having fun
We can-
here.
We could start the podcast like how to get away with murder, the TV show. We can start that.
Oh gosh, Cassie, do something with them.
Mm.
Anyways, anything else you guys want to add to the story?
I hope that I conquered it
It was
pretty
a
good.
good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it was a good one.
Cass, why don't you
Thanks,
tell
Cass.
these good folks where they can find us on the internet?
Well, so you can email us at thefamilyschoolofthought@gmail.com. You can find us on our YouTube channel, The Family School of Thought. We are on Podbean. We are on Amazon Music. We are on Spotify. I think Samsung has a music app that you can listen to us on. Yeah. Instagram. Yeah. I have really been trying to get myself to get that Twitter up. So I do need to get a Twitter started, but it hasn't happened yet. I don't have a Twitter myself, so it's one of those things where it's like I don't have one, so it doesn't really affect me.
I don't.
I keep
I don't
getting
use
Twitter
Twitter either.
on my phone and I delete it. I don't open it. I don't look at it. I delete it and then I put it in my spam and then I delete it out of there.
We had a Twitter account in the early days that you opened for us. Yes.
Not this, but
Yeah, another.
Teddy's, the sandwich shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, another business. Yeah. We're just not a very social family. Like none of us really have a lot of social presence.
Media.
So
Yeah, social media presence. Yeah.
yeah.
But here we are trying to make a podcast.
I mean, you know what? We talk about TikTok almost every episode, so I should probably start us a TikTok, but
Yeah. Right.
I'll have you guys.
Jesse helped me get a TikTok. What is it called?
Yeah.
TikTok.
TikTok account. And it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I'm not.
Well, you're just.
All
It's
it was
supposed
was-
to be. It's supposed to be. Like, though, that's the thing is that I've had a boss too that was like, "Oh, I didn't like it because it was like hours of nonsense." And I'm like, "That's the point. You just
That is
sit there
exactly
for
what she
hours."
said. That's what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. Just to
Like, even like this past week, there's just been every single video I saw was the same kid singing
Yeah.
about corn. Like, it's just singing about corn.
Okay. All right, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for
Bye.
listening. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Please let us know if there's anything that you have to tell us.
And if you
Thanks, guys.
Let us
Love
know.
you.